The sky above Eltherian Ix was red, heavy, and angry. Black clouds moved like slow beasts across the sky. The wind screamed through the jungle trees, but her scream was louder. Nirella was tied to a metal post. Her arms were chained above her head. Her legs were bleeding deep cuts, made by claws. She was weak now, cold, but she was still alive, and she was still screaming. She didn't know how long it had been. Hours? A full night? Time didn't matter anymore. Only the pain. And the fear? The jungle was quiet for now. But she knew what. That meant the beasts were near. They moved when the jungle held its breath. She had heard the stories, when she was young, about the cleansing hosts. A punishment for rebels, for traitors, for anyone who spoke out. Nirella had asked a simple question. Why must we sacrifice the weak to feed the jungle gods? They didn't like her question. So now she was here. Left to die. She had screamed at first, begged, promised to change, promised to obey. They only laughed. Let the jungle judge you, they said. She was the jungle's toy now, but she wasn't dead yet, and that made her angry. She screamed again, louder this time. Not for help. She knew no one would come, but someone did hear it. Up above, floating just outside the cloud line, a small Terran scout ship drifted silently. Its name was Vigilant Whisper. Inside sat one man, Captain Jace Turner. He was tired. He hadn't slept in 32 hours. Most scouts didn't need to. They were trained to stay alert. But this mission was boring. Just map the jungle planets and report. Jace leaned back in his chair, staring at the green radar screen. Then it hit his ears. A scream, not from the usual channels. Not a military signal. Not even in English. But the voice, the tone, it was pure terror. His ship AI translated it automatically. Please, someone, they left me here. The beasts are coming. I don't want to die like this. Jace sat up straight. He turned off autopilot. He checked the coordinates. The signal was weak, very weak. Deep jungle. Ground level. His orders were clear. No landings. No contact. He looked at the screen. He looked out the window. He heard the scream again. Then he said something under his breath. Screw the rules. He pushed the controls. The ship dropped fast, straight into the storm. Back on the ground, Nirella had stopped screaming. Her voice was gone now. Her head hung low. Her breath was slow and shallow. Then the jungle made a sound. Branches snapped. Leaves shifted. A low growl came from the trees. She looked up, tears in her eyes. The beast stepped out. It was huge, twice her size. 4 legs. Sharp teeth. Eyes that glowed yellow. Its skin was rough and black, covered in scars from old battles. It sniffed the air. It smelled her blood. It roared. Nirella closed her eyes. But then something happened. Sound broke the jungle. Boom. The beast cried out in pain. It stumbled back. Another boom. This time, the shot hit its eye. The beast fell, shaking the ground. Nirella opened her eyes. Her heart stopped. A man walked out from the smoke. He wore black armor, scratched and dirty. A glowing rifle in his hands. A helmet with a red visor. He walked to the cage. He looked at her. Then he said, in perfect translation, I heard you. She stared at him, shaking. You're human? He nodded. Name's Jace. You're safe now. She cried. Not because she was weak, but because for the first time in her life, someone came for her. The jungle was still on fire. Smoke moved through the trees like gray ghosts. The dead beast lay beside the post, its thick black blood soaking the dirt. But Nirella's eyes were only on the man in front of her. The human. Captain Jace Turner stood tall in his battle armor, steam rising from his rifle. His helmet hissed as it opened. revealing a face with sharp eyes, tired lines, and a fresh scar across his cheek. "You're real," Nirella whispered. "You came." Jace didn't answer right away. He looked at her chains. "We need to. Move, others might come back." He pulled a small tool from his belt. With one quick spark, the metal cuffs snapped open. Nirella's arms dropped. She fell to her knees with a cry. Jace caught her. Her legs were wounded. Deep cuts, infected. The beasts had already tasted her, but hadn't finished. "I can't walk," she said, voice shaking. "You don't have to." He picked her up with ease and started moving. The jungle hissed again. Branches broke nearby. Jace paused, then moved faster. He wasn't just carrying her. He was carrying a problem now. A kind that got people killed. Flashback. Just 3 hours earlier, Jace had been alone in Vigilant Whisper, drinking old synth coffee, floating through the dead air above Eltharian Ix. This mission was routine. Just scan the planet, report the minerals, and avoid contact. Then he heard it. A scream dot, so raw, so full of terror, it cut straight into him. He'd heard screams before. During the Tarkan Wars, on Rylos, even from fellow soldiers. But this scream, it wasn't just fear, it was betrayal. Abandonment, it was the sound of someone no one planned to save. That's why he broke orders. That's why he came. Back in the jungle, he kept moving. His HUD blinked red motion near the edge of the radar. Multiple signatures. Not beasts. Humanoid. He reached a small cave under a ridge and slipped inside. It was dark, but safe for now. He gently placed Nirella on the ground. She tried to sit. Up, shaking. "Why did you come?" He didn't look at her. He started cleaning her wounds. Didn't plan to. "But no one helps strangers," she said. "Especially not humans." Jace sighed. "Yeah, I know." She watched him wrap her leg. His hands were rough but gentle. Then he looked her in the eyes. "Back in the war, I lost someone." She screamed for help. "I heard it, but I was too far." He paused. "I swore never again." Nirella's eyes filled with tears. She reached for his hand. "Thank you." But the moment didn't last. His comms beeped. New signal detected. 4 armed targets. Scanning jungle. Closing in. "They're coming," he said. She froze. "They're not done with me. They want to finish it." Jace loaded his rifle. "They'll have to go through me first." Outside the cave, 4 tall figures moved fast through the jungle. Their armor was silver, marked with red paint execution. "Squad," they spoke in their own tongue, laughing. "She should be dead already. If not, we'll finish it tonight. Whoever helped her will die too." They reached the place where she had been tied. They saw the dead beast. Then the human footprints. One of them stopped laughing. "Back in the cave," Nirella whispered. "You should leave me." "They won't stop." Jace pulled out a second rifle and set traps near the cave entrance. "Let them come." "You don't even know me," she said. He gave a tired smile. "I don't have to." "You screamed. That was enough." The night fell fast over Eltharian. Ix. The sky turned black. The jungle changed. The wind was gone. No birds, no sound. Only silence, and that meant death was coming. Inside the small cave, Jace placed his finger to his lips. "Don't speak," he whispered to Nirella. "They're close." She nodded. Her wounds still hurt, but she bit her lip and stayed quiet. Outside, boots crushed leaves. 4 shadows moved slowly through the trees. One of them had glowing goggles. He pointed to the cave entrance. There, footprints. Jace was already watching. Them from the dark. He had placed 2 traps. One mine. One noise. The lead soldier stepped closer. Click. Too late. The mine exploded. Boom. Dirt, fire, and smoke blasted through the jungle. Two of the attackers were thrown backward into trees. Jace moved fast. He dashed from the shadows, pulled the trigger, and fired at the third one. Thud. One enemy dropped. The last one ducked behind. A rock, firing plasma bolts toward the cave. Jace slid beside Narella. "Stay low. Don't move." She looked at him, eyes wide. "You're outnumbered," he smirked. "I've been worse." Outside, the last enemy shouted into a comlink. "Target is armed. Human confirmed. Requesting support." Jace cursed. More a cunning. He grabbed Narella gently. "We're leaving." "But I can't walk." "Then I'll carry you." He placed her on his back, like a soldier carries a wounded comrade. Then he ran. The jungle was alive again, this time with fire. They moved fast through the trees. Jace knew the terrain from his scout training. He used narrow paths, old roots, even fallen trees to stay hidden. But they weren't alone. Another shadow followed them. Big, fast, not a soldier, a beast. A second one. Jace heard it before he saw it. Leaves rustling. Breath. Hunger. He turned around just in time. The beast jumped. Jace threw himself sideways, rolled, and pulled Narella close. The creature slammed into the ground beside them. Claws sinking into the earth. It roared. Jace stood between Narella and the monster. His gun was low on charge. The beast stepped forward. Massive jaws opened wide. Jace whispered, "Come on." He fired. The blast hit the creature in the mouth. It shook, but didn't fall. Again. A second shot to the eye. The creature screamed. Jace pulled a blade from his side, jumped, and drove it into the beast's throat. Blood sprayed. The beast collapsed. Jace fell to one knee, breathing hard. Narella crawled to him. "You're hurt." "Just a scratch," he lied. His shoulder was bleeding. She held his face. "Why are you doing this?" He looked at her, really looked. "You were screaming, and I couldn't ignore it." They kept moving, through vines, over mud, into an old ruin deep in the jungle. It was a stone temple. Ancient, silent, long abandoned. Inside, it was cool and dark. Safe for now. Jace sat down, pulled off his helmet, and let out a long breath. Narella sat beside him, her hand shaking. "You fight like a god," she said. He laughed softly. "No, just a human." She looked into his eyes. "What are humans like?" He thought for a moment. "We get angry. We get loud. We break things. But sometimes we hear a cry and we move. No matter the cost." She smiled faintly. "My people would never have done what you did." He touched her hand. "Maybe that's why you needed a human." Outside, the trackers regrouped. Burned. Bleeding. Furious. One spoke into a comlink. He escaped again. With the girl. "The human fights like 10. The voice on the other end answered coldly. "You failed, but I am coming now. I will finish it myself." They all froze. The general was coming, and death followed him. The jungle temple was still. Cold stone walls whispered old secrets. But Jace wasn't listening to the walls. He was checking his weapon. Only 3 plasma charges left. He looked at Narella. She was asleep now, finally resting. Her face was soft in sleep, but her body still shivered. He stood near the entrance, watching the shadows. Then he felt it. Pressure. A presence. Something big was coming. And it wasn't just soldiers. In the deep sky above Eltherian Ix. A black dropship sliced through the clouds like a blade. Inside stood General Krexos, the one who ordered Narella's death. His armor was dark red, covered in metal spikes and old bloodstains. His eyes were empty. His voice, when he spoke, was cold as space. "She dares to survive the ritual? And with a human?" He growled, I will break them both. Beside him, his elite guard stood silent trained killers who had never failed. This wasn't just a mission now. This was a lesson. Message to the galaxy. No one escapes the judgment of the Krell Order. Back in the temple, Nirella woke up with a gasp. They're coming, she whispered. JAC, he nodded. I know. She sat up slowly, biting her lip. I should go to them, she said. If they find us together, you'll die too. Jace didn't move. Then we die together. She stared at him. You're not one of us. Why do you care? He finally spoke the truth. Because I've seen what happens when no one cares. I saw children burn in the Tarkin Wars. I saw soldiers leave civilians behind because it wasn't their job. I've made mistakes before. He looked right into her soul. I'm not making them again. Nirella was silent. Then, for the first time in years, she stood up on her own. Weak legs, shaking knees. But she stood. I will fight too. Minutes later, the temple shook. Stone dust fell from the ceiling. Footsteps, heavy, marching in sync. Then silence. Then the voice. Deep, echoing. You've made my hunt unpleasant, human. Jace stepped into the light of the temple entrance. General Krexos stood just outside, flanked by 6 armored guards. The general's face twisted into a grin. Hand her over. I might let you live. Jace lifted his rifle. Come and get her. The guards moved first. Jace fired. 2 guards dropped instantly, but his charge was gone. Click. Empty. The 3rd guard rushed him. Jace drew his blade and dodged. The fight was brutal. Metal against bone. Sparks flew. One by one the guards fell. Jace was bleeding. Krexos stepped forward, slow and calm. He was 3 times Jace's size. With one punch, he threw Jace into a stone wall. Jace coughed, struggling. To stand, Krexos walked forward, raising his blade. Last words, Terran? A voice cried out, yes. It wasn't JACE. It was Nirella. She stood behind the general, holding Jace's backup blaster. I scream, he comes. She fired. The shot hit Krexos in the back of the neck. He roared in rage, spinning, but she was already gone, ducking behind. A pillar. Jace used the moment to leap forward. With all his strength. He drove his blade into Krexos' side. The general screamed. Then, silence. He dropped. GE collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. Nirella rushed to him, helping him up. You did it, she said, eyes wide. No, he smiled weakly. We did it. She laughed a real laugh. Broken, tired, but alive. Later, they stood at the temple steps, watching the sky lighten. The night was ending. Nirella looked up at him. What now? Jace pointed to the horizon. My ship is still up there. We go home. Earth? He nodded. Will they accept me? Jace looked at her gently. They'll listen, because I'll make them listen. The fire was gone. The jungle was still. But the sky above Alfirian Ix now held 2 things it had never seen together before. A wounded human and a defiant alien girl, once meant to die. Jace and Nirella reached the edge of the jungle by dawn. His steps were slow. His wounds burned. But he didn't complain. Nirella helped him walk now. She still limped from her torn legs, but something had changed inside her. She didn't cry anymore. She didn't whisper. She walked like someone who had survived her own funeral. A signal blinked on Jace's wristband. The vigilant whisper was still in orbit. He tapped the button. Auto-drop initiated. 1 landing pod coming down. They waited in silence. Then, above the treetops, a silver pod broke the clouds. It dropped fast, humming with heat. Steam hissed. As it touched the ground nearby, Jace smiled weakly. Home. But Narella wasn't looking at the pod. She was staring at the shadows behind the trees. A new sound filled the air metal boots. Not loud. Careful. She grabbed Jace's arm. They didn't all die, she said. From the smoke came 5 more soldiers, her people. Not elite warriors, ordinary guards, but this time, they weren't laughing. They stopped when they saw her Dot, a live Dot, standing Dot, and beside a human Dot, one of them stepped forward. Narella? She nodded. Yes. He lowered his weapon. We were told you were gone, that you were judged. I was, she said coldly. But I lived, and I remember who gave the order. The soldiers hesitated. Then another voice. Came an older one. Her name was High Voice. Vulca, one of the elders of Narella's tribe. She wore a long red cloak and had silver tattoos on her face. She looked at Narella like someone seeing a ghost. You returned. With him? Jace stepped forward, still holding his rifle. I'm not here to start a war. Velka's eyes narrowed. Then what do you want? Jace didn't answer. Narella did. I want them to hear the scream. The crowd gathered fast Dot within. Ours, a full camp formed near the jungle's edge. Narella stood at the center, bruised but proud. Jace stood beside her like a silent wall. Elders, guards, curious faces. Angry ones, too. Velka raised her hand. Let her speak. Narella looked. At them all. You left me for dead. You tied me up and laughed as beasts tore my legs. You said the jungle would decide. She pointed to the scars. It did, and it chose me. She turned and pointed to Jace. You all heard me scream. But only a human answered. Whispers spread. Some scoffed. Some stared at Jace like he was a ghost. Narella raised her voice. I don't care if he's from Earth. I don't care that he doesn't have our blood. He has something more. She turned to Jace. Courage, mercy, fire. He didn't know me, but he came. He bled. He fought. And he stayed. Not because it was his duty, but because it was right. Velka stepped forward slowly. And what do you want now, child? Narella walked forward, too. I want no more posts, no more screams in the dark. Velka looked to the others. They were silent, and slowly she bowed her head. You lived. So your words carry weight. The other elders followed. One by one they bowed. Even the guards dropped their weapons. Narella turned to Jace. He didn't speak. He just gave her the faintest smile, like a soldier who had seen too much. That night, they sat near the DROPSHIP. Dot stars filled the sky. Narella looked up. What happens now? Jace leaned back, eyes closed. You speak, I fly, and maybe we change something. She looked at him. Will I see Earth? He nodded. I'll take you there myself. She touched his shoulder gently. Thank you for hearing me. He opened his eyes. I didn't just hear you, he said softly. I felt you. Far away, in the cold halls of the Galactic Council, a file was uploaded from an anonymous source. The scream heard by a human asterisk, the Council Hall of Veltron. Prime was made of silver glass and silence. Dot. It floated in the sky above the central capital home to hundreds of species. Every voice here mattered. Every word was recorded. But today, the chamber waited for something it had never heard before. A human stood at the edge of the light, and beside him was the girl who was once left to die. The message had reached them days ago. A survivor. A ritual. A war hero from Earth. Most didn't care. Ritual sacrifice was cultural. Local. Not council business. But then came the file. A voice. A scream. A rescue. It shook them. The scream wasn't just fear. It was truth. The sound of a soul a galaxy had ignored. Until one human made it impossible to forget. Narella stepped into the council light. She wore a simple white robe. one leg still bandaged. The scars were still fresh. But her voice was clear. I was born on Eltherion. My people believed silence was strength. Obedience was survival. I questioned that. So they tied me to a post and waited for the jungle to eat me. Gasps echoed. She didn't blink. I screamed. No one came. Not my elders. Not my leaders. Not even the systems that say they protect. The weak, her voice rose. Only one came. She looked at him. Only he came. Jace didn't speak. He just watched her dot to him. She wasn't a victim anymore. She was a fighter, a witness, and maybe a leader. Nirella pointed to the silver wall behind the council dot. It lit up. A hologram. Played. A screen dot the rescue. The blood, the fire, the beast, the general dot, and finally Jace, carrying her through the jungle like she weighed. Nothing dot some council. Members covered their eyes. Some leaned in closer. Nirella let it play to the end dot, then silence. She said softly, he wasn't supposed to come. He wasn't called. He had no reason. But he did come. Because he's human. And humans hear things others ignore. The head counselor, a creature of feather and crystal named Varsayan, leaned forward. What are you asking for? Nirella stepped closer. No more ritual deaths. No more forgotten screams. No more letting custom cover cruelty. And she paused. Don't fear the humans. Let them help. Let them stay. Varsayan looked at Jace. Do you speak for your kind? Jace finally spoke. His voice was calm, but strong. I don't speak for Earth. I just answer when someone screams. That was all. The vote passed. Ritual execution laws were reviewed across 4 systems. Eltherion. 9 was placed under direct council observation. And Nirella? She became the youngest ambassador ever named. Not because she was powerful, but because she had survived and made them listen. 2 months later, Earth received a message. From the Galactic Council dot, it was short. Thank you for hearing. Her. On a quiet night aboard the Vigilant Whisper, Jace sat on the viewing deck. Stars blinked above him. Footsteps approached. Near Ella. She sat beside him, holding a small device. It's me, she said. She pressed play. Her scream filled the ship once more, but she didn't cry. She smiled. That sound, it made me hate myself. Jace nodded slowly. And now? She looked at him. It made me strong. He looked at her scars, her eyes, then back at the stars. Funny, he whispered, how the whole galaxy missed it. She smiled. That's why it needed a human.